And I had a plan. I was devious at that time. I mean, I had called a bomb scare into my school to get an evacuation to go to a Def Leppard Billy Squier concert. I wouldn't get my report card. I was taking heavy metal very seriously. I mean, it was like life or death. Janie Lane came out of the troop, out of the coconut teaser like a rocket and rolled over somebody's bed in traffic. It was like, what a god. Our last show was our sold out whiskey show, and it was just chaos. So we finally got there. The day we got there was the day we imploded. You need to be like, get your lightning in a bottle now and write the songs for the rest of your career, which in hindsight was genius. I write Paint You a Picture, which, this girl that I was living with, Caroline, I write that, and that's a jump. You take a jump as a band. And I said, Kim, I don't do heroin. I'm edgy, but not that edgy. So I got to tell my story. There's a 2-page spread of us, a full page of Dave and Rolling Stone. When we went with Kim, I remember someone saying, you guys need to be more like Roxy Blue. And the same guy, years later, we went in a few years later, and he said, you need to be more like Jane's Addiction. I'm reading the Circus magazine stories and want my life to be that. You know what I mean? We didn't all have the Axl story. Some of us actually liked our moms and dads. And I just wrote folk songs on a little guitar. I would go to the park, and it's just how it happened. You know what I mean? Sure. And just try to find what was interesting about our lives.
The hair metal guru from Warren to Crew. The hair metal guru. Never forget Charlie too.
When people talk about bands from the Sunset Strip that should have made it big, a name that comes up often is Blackboard Jungle, and their album I Like It Alot is an album I didn't discover until long after it had been released, but it is amazing. Today their bass player and founder Britt Pennella is here to talk about the career of Blackboard Jungle and what he's been up to outside of the band. With that, Britt Pennella, welcome to the show.
How you doing? I love the podcast, man. It's been blowing up. It's a great thing.
Thank you. It's gone way farther than I ever thought it would. And I want to say this, like I said, didn't know about, I was in North Dakota, small town North Dakota. So it's not like I was hearing about the bands, like Blackboard Jungle. But I think it might have been when that Hollywood Rocks box set came out.
Okay, yeah.
Chicago was on there. And I was like, what the shit is this? And where has this been all my life? So then I was on a mission to find I Like It Alot. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know that I'm really a huge fan of the I Like It Alot album that you guys put out. So I'm pumped that you're going to be able to tell the story of Blackboard Jungle. So,
and speaking, you're from Fargo. Fargo Rock City was one of my favorite books, and I was actually friends with Chuck when you could still talk with him when he had his phone number in the book. And we would talk about the Sunset Strip on the phone before he moved to New York.
So Chuck is from Wyndmere, North Dakota. I went to kindergarten in Wyndmere. Chuck was a first grader. And I moved when I was in high school, we played basketball against each other. But when he started becoming this big worldwide thing, I asked my cousin, I'm like, do you remember, did you guys think he was gonna, and they were like, we just all thought he was weird in high school because they were from a really small town. What an amazing author Fargo Rock City is. Yeah. So
that's a great book. I think it's the one that nails it. And there wasn't a billion rock books out then. It was just like, that was
right.
it.
Right. So how do you, I think you're from New Jersey. How do you get your start in music? Like what drags you into rock and roll at a young age?
Well, obviously MTV's a big gateway drug, but when, my boyhood friend was this guy, Steve Ossam, and he would draw like all the metal things, and he ended up forming the band Deicide. It was my best friend from 6th or 8th grade. We're still tight. But there was that point where before Crew came out, we were all kind of on the same side in Jersey. You're into like Priest. You're seeing the videos. Obviously, I saw Kiss, but Kiss is like, I went and saw Kiss in 2nd grade, the legendary shows at Madison Square Garden that everybody saw. But then that time passes between, then you get into motorcycles, BMX, other things occur.
Yep.
But really, when Crew came out, I was into like Priest, all the things, but then Crew was kind of cool to like. You weren't a poser if you liked them, because growing up in New Jersey, especially by Old Bridge, was a big Metallica. That whole thing was very present. So it didn't divide. I call it gangland. All of a sudden you had to pick a gang. But free gangland. I think after the US Festival, you had to pick after watching that on TV, you had to pick a team. But it was really when Looks That Kill was what got me into crew.
Okay.
And then you went backwards and got Too Fast for Love. I did hear Too Fast for Love in hindsight, but I thought it was Saxon or something. I didn't have a thing. But then seeing Nikki Sixx and going, wait, I can be the bass player and compete and be just as strong as the frontman. So Nikki Sixx really just set this template for what I wanted to do. Then you hear about Hollywood.
Yep.
Oh my God. I got before that, you're just watching Three's a Company, the beginning of it, seeing California and in the snow in Jersey. I got to get there.
Motley Crue seemed more realistic for people. Like Van Halen, it didn't seem like you could do Van Halen. You could do.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. It still seemed pretty far off. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah, true.
And I got to see them with Steve. We went to see them open for Ozzy. My dad took me on Super Bowl night on Bark the Moon with Wasted opening up. And it was just like, oh, this is everything, man. I got thrown out of Catholic school because I would go to the first year I went because I heard there's a new circus out and walk right to 7-Eleven. Just, Vince has got a blue fishnet. And, I just had to have it. Encompassing everything Motley Crue.
So how do you start playing bass? Like, are you starting to ask your parents, I need to start doing this? How do you start playing?
Yeah. So I wanted to own a tropical fish store. I wanted to be a BMXer. It was funny. It was the final kick when my dad goes, no more kicks for this kid. I'm not buying him a bass. And, you had the friend's older brother who had a $50 bass. I worked on a farm and he sold me the bass because I wanted to be in a band after MTV came out. All I would do just hours upon hours, MTV.
Yeah.
And, I worked really hard, and eventually my mom put me in lessons. So then I'm rolling and I'm trying to me and Steve formed a little band called Lucifer's Hammer with the older kid that had a Mustang. And, that was the start.
Do you meet, is Kenny is from Jersey too. Do you guys meet there before you go to LA?
100%. So the real big one that really, so I have a band and we have the everybody in the town is our singer. It's not a real singer.
Yeah.
Actually, I had seen Kenny play in the Battle of the Bands and someone told me about him and he came to my house and he sang Live Wire and I took him in the driveway and just said, I'll do anything to play with you. He just came, gave a little pause in Live Wire. And then I used to eat lunch with this older girl, a real pretty older girl. And she was torn between these two guys in this band that she didn't know which one she should be with. And now she actually showed me one's poems that were like, that's pretty corny. I'd stay with the singer. She goes, I don't know what to do. And she got us to open for him at a fitness center. Like they take the aerobics clothes out and it was Zach Wilde, who was Jeff Wyland then. So our first gig with me and Kenny, and I'm like, I guess that's what a guitar player is supposed to be. And he was so cool to me that he told me how to practice and he didn't drink. I didn't drink at the time. And it was really a great setting of the bar back then.
So I mean, how long are you out playing shows? And is that with a band called Ritz?
Yeah. Ritz with Greg Blackman, Jesse Hobbs. Yeah. We play out local clubs. I'm just looking in the paper. I'm reading the circus magazine stories and want my life to be that. You know what I mean? Staten Island. We think we're really good. We win the Battle of the Bands and we go and we play and there's this band and it's Trickster and they're just crushing. We're annihilated. 3-part harmonies, guys. You're like,
Right.
So there was a lot in New Jersey because also Jamie Scrapp, who was the original drummer of Filthy Ritz, one of our best friends, a big inspiration to Blackboard Jungle. He knew some of the guys in Skid Row, and we'd go see them with their old singer Matt Fallon at clubs. And he goes, Rachel Boland was Jamie's friend, said, "You want to meet up my new singer?" And he opened this door, and it was like the rock gods. It was Sebastian Bach, and it was like, how do I compete, man? Oh my God!
Right. Yeah. I've interviewed 3 of the guys from Trickster, and they all have their Sebastian Bach stories. And anyway, So at what point are you and Kenny? You're in this band, Ritz. You're playing around Jersey. You're like, you know what? We got to get out of here. We got to go to LA.
So we took his mom passed away, so I heard, you know all the mythology of LA.
Yep.
And he was going to go to visit a friend, uncle in the valley, and I tagged along, and I was like, hey, and I had a plan. I was devious at that time. I mean, I had called a bomb scare into my school to get an evacuation to go to a Def Leppard Billy Squire concert. I wouldn't get my report card. I was taking heavy metal very seriously. I mean, it was like life or death. It probably still is, but so we get to the valley, and I'm just like, Ken, let's get a car and go into LA. And we went to the Roxy, and I just wanted to see a heavy metal show. And luckily, the first show was Junkyard and Salty Dog.
Oh,
So, yeah. So we walk in, and there's a guy that was there's a bar off the floor of the Roxy, and he had some videos. And I asked him about his videos he had rented with his girlfriend. And he ended up being the Blackboard Jungle's manager, but he was friends with Sam Kinison. He worked with Sam Kinison. So as a joke, he brought us the next night to the Comedy Store, and I had never met a star before. We went to the after party, and every star in the world is there. Slash is passed out, Billy Idol's enter, and I see James Hetfield there, and I went to talk to him about playing our roller rink, and he started barking at me and scare me. I'm 18, and all of a sudden I feel a hand pull me, and it's Bret Michaels, and he's like, "Don't let him bother you, little brother." And he sat all night giving me a plan to move out to California, what I had to do, what he would do, that you find me when I get out here. And it was so cool. There's a picture of it all over the internet, me, Kenny, CC, and Brett, and he gave me a plan.
I saw that. I'll put that. I saw that on your Facebook. What year is that? Is that
That's
about
88. No, for real.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I think I'm like, so when I did come out, I remember seeing him at the Rainbow, finally made it. I'm like, Brett, he didn't know who I was. Like right there, welcome to the jungle, just echoing in my head. And it was, but things work out because I met Stevie, who just a few months ago, I was putting Rock Scene magazine away, looking at this rock god, Stevie Rochelle and Tough, where you don't have YouTube, you don't know what and he was one of the first person I met, and he couldn't have been cooler. He took me under his wing when I got there.
Did Kenny come out there with you, or did you go by yourself?
No. So he didn't. So I kind of broke up band. I came out with Jamie Scrapp.
Okay.
And graduation night, I did a little stopover in San Francisco, but then a month later, me and Jamie met in the airport. Literally took a super shuttle and said to the guy, "Bring us to the 24-hour place on the Sunset Strip." No idea. No. Remember being outside the teaser, the Coconut Teaser, and Jamie going, "This is real life. This isn't Circus Magazine. We might have to go back. We have nowhere to live," because you couldn't get an apartment without credit, and you couldn't get credit without a job. You can get a job without a phone. So, but then someone said, "Jamie," and it was one of his friends from the Boardwalk, because the Boardwalk was our Sunset Strip, Seaside Boardwalk, and they found us a weekly hotel above Raji's, actually, the Hastings House, and that was our base to really start doing our thing. So we just did our thing, and then Kenny called me and he wanted to come out.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Which was very unlike him, at the time, it seemed very, very wild that he would want to come out. And I almost didn't tell Jamie he was coming out, and he came out. Yeah. And Dave Zink I met when I was here, because I heard there was this club, The Stone, and I met him crossing the street with The Stone, because there's all these thrashers, and he looked like the only guy that couldn't kick my ass.
Sorry, I just got a message from somebody. Okay, so Kenny comes out, you're out there. How do you like, okay, here's our plan. How do you get started about trying to make a name in that craziness?
Well, the coolest thing was I walked up the wall and I saw Stevie Rochelle, and I don't know why he was so, Metal Sludge. I don't know why he was so cool to me, but he said, let me I'll come to the Tough Muff Mansion tomorrow, and I'm going to show you how this works.
Okay. And
he gave me a tape with them, Warrant's demo, showed me what a proof sheet was, and he literally gave me the plan.
Okay.
He gave me the battle plan. He had no reason to do that. I mean, he had no reason to do it, and he gave me the battle plan.
I texted him when I found out we were gonna do this, and he had nothing but great things to say about you. So
we're like super. I mean, so tight through the years. We've gotten tighter, and he's been like just such a great friend. And not sort of a great friend. Like it's so wild just how it grew over the years, the friendship.
Yeah, and he's supported this channel more than I can even anyway. So is it are you playing shows as Filthy Ritz when you get going?
So as Filthy Rich, we form our band. Jamie was the drummer then, Jamie Scrapp. I remember going at the end of the night with Stevie. Everybody's cleared off the strip and going outside Gazzari's and seeing a picture of Burnett, and they have hair to here. They look genetically correct. My mom had just kind of let me grow my hair, and I remember crying outside Gazzari's, like, "How am I going to do this? Look at like these guys are like, oh no, you know what I mean?"
Right.
And
Right.
then people started latching. Like there was a promoter, like a weird guy, Ron Nagby. He was like a registered offender. Just we had to go through all those things. And then Stevie hooked me up with this guy, Johnny Dallas, that had invested in them, had invested in Poison. We almost lived, we're going to move in to where Poison used to live, way off Hollywood, way off. The guy I remember he put cigarettes in his ears when he would listen to us. He was the next stunt man. And he was going to work with us. And somehow he didn't. I don't know how that didn't happen. But one thing that I was smart was like, I read all the liner notes as a kid. I just memorized Guns N' Roses, Poison, and Motley Crue. And I would think of people that were on all three. By the way, in my senior year, I think there was a dance or something. I didn't go. I went and saw Guns N' Roses at a club called L'Amour's where they didn't even sell out. And that was like, you talk about going, now we can do it. I remember afterwards, Slash played Sweet Child of Mine. It was the worst sounding thing, but the best sounding thing, because I didn't grow up on punk rock. This was my, and afterwards he was in the street hanging with everybody. He goes, someone said, "You fucked up." And he goes, "Oh, I played it a half step up." It was just, wow, this guy's a human. He got on the stage from the front. You know what I mean? It was just, so that was like, oh my God. You know what I mean?
Right. As Filthy Ritz, do you guys kind of have a name going before you hook up with Kim Fowley?
Oh, yes. And you know what's weird is when we moved out, I was living at a place in St. James, and I remember I saw Steve Brown on Hollywood Boulevard, and they were making their album. So they're out in Hollywood making their album, and they're seeing the same kind of corporate housing where I was living with the evil girl that said she was my age, 18, and she was like 30, so just totally lied, which was that initiation that Kim Fowley said, you're starting to build the story to have something to say, because there's not that much to say where I was growing up. In hindsight, there was, if you look at a Bruce Springsteen, but not the Guns, the big Hollywood mythology.
Sure. So Filthy Ritz is kind of getting into it. How does Kim Fowley, who has worked with everybody, the Runaways, he was so instrumental to so many bands. How do you meet him and get him involved?
Well, so the other thing with Filthy Ritz, the very end, we played Madame Wong's, and Andy McCoy from Hanoi Rocks came in, wanted to hijack the band and have us be his band. So that was kind of the breakup, you know what I mean? And our last show was our sold out whiskey show, and it was just chaos. So we finally got there. The day we got there was the day we imploded.
So I'd love to hear about that. How does Andy McCoy want you guys to be his band? I mean, shit. What happened with it?
We were playing Madame Wong's, doing a show there, and for some reason he was there, and he came to me and talked to me afterwards. And I went back to some record store in Venice with him afterwards. And he just said, "Oh, I'll come to your rehearsal room. I'll do that. Let's start a bit." But the only thing for me was I wasn't even cool enough to be enamored by Hanoi Rocks that much then. They look cool, but then I got the record and like it sounded like Up Around the Bend. I was like, it's okay. It wasn't Motley Crue. It looked cool. It was like a Tiger Tails moment for me. I know people love Tiger Tails, but it didn't really do for me what I wanted it to do for me. You know what I mean? Yep. In hindsight, it did, but at that point, I wasn't ready for it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So we go out. I get Jamie, get Dave, and we're rolling with Andy McCoy. And Kenny moved home. It was the end of the band. I think either way, those Hollywood Elements girls. I mean, this is where now I understand those gun stories. GNR have the band was Rose, and I didn't understand that being on, but then you see how it happened. I mean, this guy went out, this guy came back. So we jam with him. I'm the first kicked out. Tommy Black joins. Then I'm sitting in Hollywood, and it's just not. Remember once actually, he walked in the Roxy and he said something mean to me, and I threw him over the bars of the Roxy.
Who is this?
Andy McCoy at a
Oh,
choir boy show, and I was the most hated guy with no band in Hollywood.
right.
And then Kenny moved back and was gonna. There was a woman, Bridget Wright, who managed Jet Boy, and she was on the Poison, and she started kind of helping us at the beginning.
Hmm.
But then there was do you remember the Metal Years? The movie The Metal Years?
Oh, The Decline? Fucking, I
Yeah,
worked
yeah.
with that thing.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So Desi Benjamin, the kid promoter,
Yeah.
he was kind of helping us. We're doing, he was, get formed, and we're in an apartment, and he brings over Kim Fowley because everybody knew I wanted to meet Kim. I read about this guy in every album, this guru.
Yep.
And he's just like, hey man, what's your dream? And it's just so intense, but I can roll with it. I'm like, and he goes, if you want to, you're like a young Jonathan Daniel. Not that Jonathan Daniel was even old and from Electric Angels. He goes, but if you want to work with me, I need 15 songs by tomorrow, verse and chorus. And so I did it. I had a few, and I showed up. He's like, all right. And it was like Karate Kid. I passed the initiation. Another set tomorrow. You're going to be like this. And he had all these theories like, you need to be like, get your lightning in a bottle now and write the songs for the rest of your career, which in hindsight was genius. And he seemed very harsh, he would dirty bitch, what's your dream? But he never hit on our girlfriends. He was always so cool. In fact, I started doing speed just like that whole here, kid, take some of this, you'll write songs. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then to keep up with him, and when I got out of control, he called my parents, and my mom had a meeting with him, a parent meeting with him at Fortress Studios, and he brought all his platinum records, and they got me in line, and he was just so cool, and so what we needed at that time of just pushing of what it takes to make it. He put us on a different trajectory.
So he's kind of. Oh, go ahead.
Great things. He would make us drive him around in the car, and he would lean out of Dave's Plymouth and yell, "Uninsured teenage car coming through, get off the road." It just, that was every minute.
So if he's kind of mentoring you, but you had said Kenny had moved back, like how does Kenny come back into the picture, and what leads with you and Kim Fowley to create Blackboard Jungle?
Okay, so Kenny and me joined with this guitar player, Steve Geiger, who recently passed away, and he was a total junkie at the time. And Bridget Wright, that one that worked with Poison and
Yep.
all the same kind of people Kim worked with, was kind of putting him in with us. And I think there was like some Todd Crew guilt in her, so she wanted to help Steve. And then I thought we were writing songs about girls with Steve, but I realized he's writing about heroin, and that didn't work. So at one point, we got Dave because Steve wouldn't show up, having a drug problem. So Dave joined.
Okay.
And Joel joined. Joel just, someone hooked us up, and I almost didn't call Joel back. And Joel joined, and we were jamming with this guy, and Kim Fowley came in the room. Then he's like, our name was Machine then. We're going to be called Machine. And Kim came in the room and was, after meeting me and me writing those songs, and said, "Junkie, what's your problem? You show up late, waste my," and he made him cry and leave the room. And that was like, he was out of the band. Kim just threw, and great of Kim, just, I'm not going to work with this. You know what I mean? So he threw him out. And then he's like, you need a name that parents resonates with parents. It's in the, and there was this film, and your name is Blackboard Jungle. We're going into the nuclear 90s, and your name is Blackboard Jungle. Like, okay.
Right. How did this songs, and you talked about Kim Fowley has you writing all these songs. The songs that end up on I Like It a Lot. Like how did they evolve? Were you the main songwriter? How was the songwriting?
Obviously everybody took them to. I would get the campfire skeleton of the songs for the most part, bring them.
Okay.
So one thing that Kim told me, you need to be like Axl Rose and sit Hollywood on your lap like grandpa and tell them the stories of the heroin and the death. And I said, Kim, I don't do heroin. I'm edgy, but not that edgy. So I got to tell my story. And he goes, that's pretty cool. No one said that to me. So he's like, my stories, each song there's a story of it, but it was really like about, some edge, but also missing friends and family. I finally had to get a job at a phone sales place. And I remember Marky from the Rock Dolls, who was in Bad Blood, was working there. And I never drank coffee before. It was in the old band building. And he's like, want some coffee? I'm like, I don't like the taste of coffee. He's like, no, it wakes you up. So I drank it. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. This stuff is awesome. That day I went home, walked home, and I had a micro cassette recorder. And I had been at the phone sales job and I would not sell anything. So I would just dial my friends who are away at college, their numbers, and just hear their answering machines. And that I went home, that gave me the idea for an old friends on the telephone. That was like, so that was where California, all those songs started evolving. And that was really where that next level of songwriting came in. Caroline and some other stuff were from our original batch, but that batch that you hear really evolves out of the smarts of Kim, but then the real, I write Paint You a Picture, which, this girl that I was living with, Caroline, I write that, and that's a jump. You take a jump as a band.
Yep.
And Kim had come and said, get a lawyer. He was so forthright, get a lawyer. And he gave us a contract that basically he owned us. But in a way, if he was going to do what he was going to do, he should own us. Like the Runaways, he named them. He wrote them. People have so much bad to say, but he was so honest. And I was like, I don't want to do that. He's like, no problem. We're friends till the day he died. He was just so cool about it. And so then we had this woman, Genevieve Manilian. She was our manager. Greg came in, the guy that I told you that I met at the Roxy. Mm-hmm. We're at a party. And Brent Muscat was there. And I told Joel, I heard he was producing bands. I was like, Joel, go talk to him. You're from Monrovia. Just talk about when Kim Fowley used to call it Go Bro Dude with them. So he said, Go Bro Dude with them about Monrovia. So he did. And he said he'd come to our show. And we were playing Downtown Scream with Junkyard, which in hindsight, his brother had just joined. And we're playing, and I think like every Halloween, he's never going to come. And we go to our last song. I remember saying, let's save it for the end, even though it should be our opener, Paint You a Picture, because it's our best, and more people are going to be there at the end. And we're playing it, and Brent's in the front row, just going the vibe, and just, I mean, he put so much into our band.
And most people but Brent Muscat from Faster Pussycat, if you didn't know, and like you mentioned, like Paint You a Picture, an old friend. When people talk about Blackboard Jungle, like your lyrics were so dramatically different than what was going on with a lot of bands. Like Thinking Man's lyrics, like they were just kind of a little bit deeper than the surf. And I love all that scene, but your guys' difference kind of, I thought, set you apart from a lot of bands.
Yeah, and I think obviously I love Guns, but I knew that wasn't my reality. I think that was what was the problem. I just knew that wasn't my reality. But having grown up in New Jersey, right pretty much in Freehold, you had Springsteen, this guy that as you got older, I mean, Springsteen, even Bon Jovi, they wrote about themselves. And I think there was a little bit of a mixture of that. Just like Guns, I think Guns coming from Indiana, they brought a Lynyrd Skynyrd thing over the Hollywood thing. And that was what really made it so beautiful for them is Axl's Indiana. I was thinking the other day how much John Cougar and Axl, they're both kind of the same badass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we brought that to Hollywood, and it was very lucky that you just wrote about what you knew. I definitely knew about that, and I knew that Springsteen knew that he wasn't Bob Dylan. I remember somewhere he goes, "I'm not a revolutionary. Bob Dylan is." And when I was a kid, I heard that, so I was like, I could take that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Nikki Sixx, for some reason, put me on a good path. It was just, it wasn't Teen Rebellion by the time I got there. It was just the stories. You know what I mean? Of just, and I think my favorite song is California, just moving to California and, liking the Eagles. And I don't want to be, I grew up I died for Rat, died for all that stuff. But I just wrote folk songs on a little guitar. I would go to the park, and it's just how it happened. You know what I mean? Sure. And just try to find what was interesting about our lives.
Yeah. When do you start noticing like Blackboard Jungle is starting to become a thing that people are talking about on the Strip.
You know, that show after Brent, because we would play the Coconut Teaser a lot, and that was starting to grow a little bit, but that night was like the night I got the girlfriend I had off through Blackboard Jungle. We were all of a sudden like, oh my God, we're fucking popular. You know what I mean? Like, people know us. And I remember one of the best compliments, what I was looking for, what we were looking for, I've ever heard was like, some guy was like putting us down recently. And he said, that stupid CD was in every Hollywood apartment. And that's all I wanted to do was just make a little mark in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And some things happen, like we're kind of good guys too, you know what I mean? As opposed to like, so in hindsight, being nice people. So Desi brought this guy over and he said, oh, you're going to be in Rolling Stone. And we didn't believe him. It was Mark Siegler. And he took these pictures. We went out with them of where we lived, how we lived. And I never believed it. 2 months later, when rehearsal room, and one of our friends walked in with their face ghost white and goes, you guys are in Rolling Stone. And I didn't believe him. I thought he was joking. Dude, we go down to the supermarket. We're on the Strip passing it. There's a 2-page spread of us, a full page of Dave and Rolling Stone. And like Rolling Stone.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, so some cool stuff happened. Went to Japan and just things were happening. We were doing all right. You know what I mean?
And I was gonna ask about Japan, but like at this time, are you starting to get label interest? And I'm assuming we're in like 1990 right now.
Yeah, I want to see when the record if they
Sure.
said not question mark 92. You're right.
Okay.
So Kim Fowley, this is a little bit of had every label in the world down at her soundcheck because he was Kim.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's when you're like, wait, we're going to record labels. We're going in. You know, remember going to Catherine Dumont's office? And there's a letter on the door from Tommy Lee and Nikki Sixx. Oh, this could happen? Yeah, I mean, seriously, I'm like, wait, we could really, you know, it was insane that this could happen. So that happened to Kim, but then it faded. And then I even remember Interscope Records offering us a deal, a demo deal, and Kim said, no, there's no distribution. You have no distribution. So Tom Wally, who ended up being like huge, you know, there's a lot of stuff. But what's funny is I told people that when we went with Kim, I remember someone saying, you guys need to be more like Roxy Blue. And the same guy, years later, we went in a few years later, and he said, you need to be more like Jane's Addiction.
Right.
So it wasn't anybody. It was probably amazing that we didn't get a record. I mean, and we had our own record and could just sell it. We were very lucky to have a CD that we could sell.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's tons of labels. I remember someone saying the label didn't come because they couldn't get in the Troubadour.
Okay.
You know, it was too crowded. Then Chuck Plotkin, who produced some of Born to Run, Bruce Springsteen was his main guy. I remember seeing him at the Roxy, and he wanted to sign us to Chameleon Records. It was done. We're set. And then someone at Chameleon said, you can't have a label job and produce Bruce Springsteen. So, of course, he was like, see ya. We were everywhere. It was always felt right there. You know what I mean?
Are you like frustrated? Are you like son of a bitch? Because you can see the scene is starting to change.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you're frustrated, but you almost go, us have a record out. You know what I mean? So, you know, the thing that was weird was I have a friend, I always talk about the Japanese record deal. Life is a big Japanese record deal. You know what they're like, you have success, but are you Joe Rogan yet? You know what I mean? Like, right. It all sits there and you're just too young to know you're doing it. And it was cool that so many people's lives were being built around our band. Like this person they had kids. Like later you realize what the bigger purpose of the whole thing was. And I saw the bigger purpose, you know, with the reunions and everything I'm sure we'll get to, but at the time you just kept working and you wanted more songs and people said, write more songs and you just kept moving, you know, it was just, and then to go on this, Greg managed us and Brent just dude, even like I say, I don't want to put down Animal Bag because I don't remember what Animal Bag. I'm just using them as to me, a vaguer band, vaguer. Did they have the song? Oh wait, I'm going to reverse. I'm getting ahead of myself. Like, look at Faster Pussycat's cultural impact on Hollywood compared to a band like Steelheart that probably sold 10 times as many records.
Right.
So I looked at Faster Pussycat. They influenced Guns with their dress. It wasn't just the records they sold; it was their impact. People had tattoos of their band and of the cat and dressed like them. So I was like, that's what I want.
Right. And you kind of so you mentioned Faster Pussycat and their image really, and I love Faster Pussycat. Did you guys was that because the image from '86 when Poison and Cinderella and all that is coming out, image has changed a lot by '89, '90. Did you guys discuss what kind of image you wanted the band to have?
No, Jamie Scrapp, definitely the original drummer was, and that happens a lot. There's a member that, like Brian Jones with the Rolling Stones, he kind of put them on their track. But I think our surroundings, being in Hollywood and going a little bit into the Coconut Teaser, and like if we went to Coconut Teaser or Scream, we were like Poison. We looked like, but if we went to the Sunset Strip, we looked like, a lot darker than the people around us. So it was bands like Motorcycle Boy, Rattlesnake Shake, Saigon. So you go, oh, this is what Hanoi Rocks is about. I get what happened with Guns. You look around you and all of a sudden you stop leaving Hollywood. You don't go to concerts anymore. It's all in Hollywood. And you start going, oh, Francois soaps his hair from Motorcycle. Let's try that with Kenny. Let's look. And your people around you just start influencing. You want to be cool. You're just doing your idea of cool.
Yeah.
So it just the dirt and the pus, as Kim would say, started to really just eat in. You would take pants off and have those. I remember taking my pants off from the what was that, patent leather, and you have rashes just from having them on. So and it's just that became it. You know what I mean?
Right. So we talked about Brent. Like what deal do you get that leads to I Like It a Lot? Because I think it came out in Church Records, but that's not the big deal. Tell me how that album ends up getting a deal to come out.
Well, Greg Workout, who I said we met, had some money through Sam that I think, so there's lots of, that's a complex thing.
Yep.
So him and Brent got together. They clicked together and they opened a club called The Church. It was an after hours in the Valley.
Okay.
It was just all of a sudden they used a lot of money from that to finance it. It's this church.
Okay.
And it's packed every night it has this run where we're selling beers for $5, $10. Money is just printing itself. We rehearsed there. Remember one night, Duff asking me, he's jamming with Soul, can I use your amp? Duff McKay, can I use your amp, brother? I mean, it's our little club. That had a lot to do with our popularity. So now we had our cat ass and knew the template. Brent just knew the template of what to do. Greg did. Greg had that money. We had our manager Genevieve too in it, and it was just insane. What that was probably where the money came for the album when I think about it. And our manager infused some money, and also, I always thought you're going to make your album. No, we were making our album along the way because we'd go to record some songs, and then those songs, like Paint You a Picture, was done in downtown LA with this guy Paul DeGray, who was incredible. Who at the time, I wish we had like a real Howard Benson or something. But I was like, this guy produced La Bamba. Yeah. But that's where our album. So some of our cool was very lucky. You know what I mean? Like, we wanted big cannon drums, but Paul's like, no. He ended up working on the first Weezer album, and he was like, let's keep it organic. Let's get this sound and that sound. And him and Brent really helped shape it into what it was, because once you have the songs, you can kind of shape it a lot of ways. So one funny story is Brent worked so hard with us. I mean, I didn't know what a click track was, what a harmony. We were here. He took us to here instantly, but it was hard work. He just did. Remember Faster Pussycat? You had that first album. It was really cool, but they make this leap on the second album. You're like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
So he essentially taught us how to make that leap. But at one point, he had put so much into us that he wasn't really, maybe Faster was suffering because we're writing wit.
Okay.
And he said to me, you know, we had this song River of Love that I always wanted to be like their song, Little Dove. I ripped off Little Dove. That's originally, I just wanted I was like, what if every song we wrote in this new band just sound like Little Dove? It's like,
Right.
like supersonic Prince, you know?
Right.
And he goes, hey, you ripped off my song and you're taking all my time. I need to take one of your riffs to practice tonight because I'm supposed to come up with it. So he took the and it became Body Thief.
Okay. All right.
And then that album, when that album came out, we had a special thanks because more than a record deal, those were like goals I had. Like, I want to be thanked on an album that's in a, you know what I want a special thanks. And we got a special thanks on a Faster Pussycat album. We got to tour with them.
Yeah. Does I Like It a Lot? I mean, does it get any kind of distribution? It comes out in 92. and I've searched so long for information about this band, so I'm so glad I got you here because I don't know. Like tell me about it coming out and what is it?
Obviously, locally, it takes over. I mean, locally, and then people are coming and singing our songs, but it's because every band didn't have a CD then, right?
Yes.
So it's a big thing then. But then we're going to go on tour Faster Pussycat. Somehow we managed that summer, where I said the summer where everything coexisted.
Yes.
We're going to go on tour with them. And obviously we were mailing out a lot. Brent had us at Metal Edge. We're in the magazines. Like I would have read all this band, you know. So it's going out. It's not moving. But then we get the Faster Pussycat tour. And we go out with them. And I remember it's almost our ignorance at work. So they told us they were going to charge us this much to sell it inside our CD. So we just would sell it out of our van. We wouldn't bring it inside. And then Brent started hanging in our van. So everybody was in, and it was like we were printing money. Yeah. Shirts. And then at one point, Tammy came to us and said, look, I'm signed to Winterland, but here's the design for a shirt for the second half of the tour. You guys sell this and we'll split the money. Sell our shirts out of your band. So then we're selling their shirts. And I remember it was a night with the Faster Pussycat, like the Elvira type woman. Then he's hanging in our band, and our band just became the epicenter. And that's when it just started going and getting recorded. And you're like, everybody knew who we were.
How long was that? How long were you on the Faster Pussycat tour?
I call it I think it was the summer. You know, it's funny because I do know Steve Brand. I remember they would take off because we're on tour and something happened where Slaughter got in a fight with Sharon Osbourne. So they did some nights, they went on the Ozzy tour, picked up some dates. So we had to kind of book some things along the way. You know what I mean? So we're big enough. So then they'd come back. Then they went out with Kiss. I remember they played we're Pussycat. It was Trickster Pussy. So it was really that summer. It was a magical summer where everything coexisted. I remember just like Urge Overkill played Mississippi Nights, then we would, you knew Nirvana had played. It didn't seem like anything was killing anything. Yeah. I have this Poison picture that I bought. My sister bought me, and it's from Mark Weiss. It's huge. And I just want to put a gold plate under it and say, what could possibly go wrong?
You mentioned you go on tour. It's like the summer where you still think everything can coexist. That's 92. Nirvana comes out in September of 91. Like, what do you remember about that scene starting? And maybe you thought, shit, hey, it's just another thing, another style of rock, no different than we had Metallica and Poison before. What did you think when grunge started happening?
Well, obviously, I remember seeing the video at Jeff from Bad Blood's apartment for Teen Spirit, and he had this warm Bryan Adams voice, and I was like, well, it didn't seem like the end of the world. Then it confused everybody. It was, and looking back, I saw you were talking about that Motley Crue album, because it's funny, Joel left, and we were recording an A&M with Brett Bradshaw and drums we can get to, at the same time they were making that album.
Yes.
So when we were confused, we were literally in A&M with Motley Crue confused, but no one seemed confused. You know what I mean? And I remember, and Nine Inch Nails were in the other studio. Bill Kennedy was working on there. So we're all in there, and Tommy Lee would come in our room because he knew Brett from Faster Pussycat. So let's get to the confusion. So you're making confused music,
Yeah.
if you call it that, like that Motley Crue album, with John Corabi. It's amazing in hindsight,
Mhm.
but at the time, and some people like our music from that confused period better than any of our music.
Right.
I call them the metal youth. We have a whole lost period with Brett Bradshaw, which more musical and less song oriented. The songs suffer, but the music gets thicker, just like that Crue album.
Was there a period where, when did you realize, and maybe not for Blackboard Jungle, but when did you realize that grunge was going to drastically hurt the scene that you came from?
I knew when it was over because I remember the exact moment that, people were still trying to get us signed. So there's like this young man from Calabasas, Lance from the Troubadours, like, I'm going to hook you up with shows. And we played at Imperial Gardens. I forget what it was called back then. And then we played the Troubadour with this band. And I show up to sound check, and there's this all these kids waving. This young kid with dreadlocks just skateboarding in the parking lot. It was Incubus. And I'm like, oh man, we can't compete with it. This kid just all ripped and skateboarding and dread. It was funny that was, and then we went and played the Troubadour with them, and they were playing, and just their fire was insane, and ours was out. You could just tell it was out. I remember sitting with my friend Toddy from Yesterday's Tear, Drown was in it, and he got, don't worry, man. In 2 years, they'll be right where you guys are.
Right. Right.
It was that Incubus, just like, you know what I mean? They had a DJ in the band. It's just like, we're right. This is the steam. I got to get out of here.
Right. And so I Like It a Lot comes out in 92, and you talked about recording at the same time and is the recordings that you're doing, you talked about working at the same time as Motley Crue 94. Is that what comes out? Something comes out in 95.
Yeah, all that.
But Not Lost. Is that?
Yes.
What can you tell me about making that and what's going on with the band during that time?
So what happened is, at the end of the Faster Pussycat tour, they started out sending tour buses back, and by the end they were arguing about who was going to drive the band. So I'm watching Brent look at his world's more intense than ours. It's just Eric leaves the band during the tour. It's just a disintegration. I call it the end of the movie Boogie Nights. It's just disintegrating. Friends are getting in car accidents. Our friend, and it's funny, where we rehearsed at that point was in After Hours. It's now Jimmy Kimmel, and it got very dark. Then it really did get dark. Then we were in Guns N' Roses land with people killing themselves, and so we get home, and Joel didn't want to tour this because we got offered a Sabotage tour, and he thought that was not what we should be doing. And we said, well, then leave the band. And then when Pussycat came home, they were essentially from Japan, which they went on. They were essentially over. So Brett joined us, and he was crazy good drummer, and I could chase him and Dave. So then we went on that tangent with him. Okay. But some producer, Bill Kennedy, really wanted to get the essence of what we were. We got signed to Marlboro Records, this label in Germany.
Okay.
And we just kind of camped out in A&M Studios, and it was us, Motley Crue, and Nine Inch Nails at the time that they were making the Downward Spiral. And we had a room with, I remember Tommy Lee he said, let's jam. And I got set down to jam with him. And he goes, oh, I can't play. I don't have my tennies. But I remember he made me sit Indian style in front of Brett's bass drum to really hear every hit. He was in with us every night, and it was but we were all confused. We were all making it doesn't matter whether it was good or bad. Remember when Metallica, when one guy looked like he wanted to be in the Stray Cats, one guy looked like Jane's Addiction, one guy looked like he wanted to be an art dealer, and Jason Newsted just wanted to be in Metallica. Yeah. You know what I mean? You hit that point, it's like you're just utterly confused.
So what happens with those recordings? Does Last, or now I forget what it's called.
No, that didn't come. No, they just start piling up, and just cassettes, and that's Demon Doll Records, where everybody can find our music. That's Demon Doll. Cool things happen with Demon Doll Records. Yes. So
here's I Like It a Lot.
Yeah.
So I'll put the link for Demon Doll. And there's numerous Blackboard Jungle releases for Demon Doll. Okay, so you record these songs. You talked about the show with Incubus. Like, at what point are you guys? And maybe it's the Incubus show, but what
It
point
really
are you
was. That
guys
was
like?
like the night after the second one. I was just like called up. I was like, and it was just I had to go to San Francisco. I'm like, I don't want to just sit in the coconut teaser and do a watered down version of you've seen things happen before with other bands that have, even when we came out, we killed off some dinosaurs things, I'm sure. You know what I mean? And
Sure.
you don't want to just, oh, this is my new band. It's watered down that and at the coconut teaser.
Right. So how do you guys end up like, is there a big comment? Do you guys sit down and go, okay, man, it was a good run, that was it, or how does it end?
I remember talking with Dave vaguely, like, if I give 100%, what percentage can you give to this band? And he said something, but there's that quote, the T.S. Eliot quote, the world will go out on a whimper, not a bang.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
It's just it. You know what I mean? And then I remember not even I was living with Joel, and then Joel rejoined the band at that point.
Sure.
It just kind of like was like moving and didn't tell him. And it was just, I might have even, you're young, you don't tell people the truth. I might have just moved and be like, I'll be back. And it just that happened.
So what do you do in the years after Blackboard Jungle ends? Are you trying to start new bands? What do you do after that?
I moved to San Francisco and I wanted to sing and start an open mic. And it's, I often think it's like, what a crazy period was for all of us. And like someone like Janie Lane, because I remember I don't know why this relate, like surviving it is brutal because you're just worshipped. Everything's free. Everybody wants to do it. It's like a hot girl that loses her looks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're still in that mindset, but you don't have the looks anymore. You're just, remember making a demo and sending it to Lance at the Troubadour. And he's like, yeah, I'm really disappointed by your new music. I just want to die, And, but I remember when I got to LA, there was a Warrant record release party, signing party. I'd seen him at the Waters Club in San Pedro and they were amazing. And Janie Lane came out of the coconut teaser like a rocket and rolled over somebody's vet in traffic. It was like, what a God. And in hindsight, to see that whole arc of it, just, you know what I mean? And it was too. It was, who would have thought it would, and just to go like surviving it was insane. You know what I mean? Just how depressing it was to just try to find who you are and where do I exist in the world, and then you get your first real job because you didn't have to have a job back then. You know what I mean? You're just, I think of how many people died along that way. You know what I mean?
And like Janie Lane, once the glory years end, a lot of addiction came. Shit, I went through my own addiction. Did you guys was that ever an issue with you or anyone else?
All of us. Well, maybe not Joe, but me and Ken. Yeah, we were messes. We're complete messes. You just, whether it was drinking or cocaine, you're just doing whatever you have to do. And then Kenny actually flourished more than me because they had a scene with Dragonfly. He had a band, Craven. He had a band, Jet 68. No thanks. So he was flourishing a lot. I started a band, The Substitutes. It was a rock band. Eventually, I found my footing, and it was cool because Buck Cherry was just coming out, and Josh got us on their first show, and then the next week we were Slash's Snake because we were like there weren't that many rock bands, and we were like a thick rock band, but so that was cool. And I remember working at a record store my first job and putting away the Buck Cherry record, the Orgy record. Like there's a few guys that are now they're doing it, and you're just putting the records away. And I just depressing mindset, like you say, just drinking your balls off, just trying to find your place in the world. You know what I mean?
You talk about like, sorry, I had to let my dog in. Like there comes points where Buck Cherry starts to hit, and if you're like me, you're like, oh well, maybe this is now it's gonna come back.
Totally. They were like, you're like, oh man, yeah.
It happened with Buck Cherry. It happened with The Darkness.
Totally, The Darkness. Wait, who's the new one now? Wait, you have the Struts. Wait, there's a new one now. There's a new one now. There's someone now. I told my friend about
Youngblood, are you thinking about?
Yes. And you know what? I'll be assassinated for this, but I loved when I first. But all of a sudden, one day I just saw a picture of Axl getting arrested, like at 26, smiling and go, "It ain't that." We like it because it's a hope, and he's good, and he seems really nice, but the only thing is nobody's ever talked to me about a Youngblood song other than Changes. There's just nothing to stick. You know what I mean? Like nobody's ever said, and then not that it's me to judge. I mean, I was obsessed, and then all of a sudden I go, I think I like the idea of Youngblood.
Yes.
But I don't know that anything's totally latching with me. You know, Greta Von Fleet was supposed to save the world. You know what I mean? Is it him giving us old guys hope? I don't know. I DJ, and I've never had a kid come up to me and ask me for a Youngblood song.
I'm exactly there with you. You start hearing about it and you're like, okay, well, shit, I better go check this out. And you're going, oh, okay, it's fine. But where is that song that, yeah, you're like, oh, that grabbed me. Holy shit, I need to dig deeper. Anyway.
And then I found him at his age on the Disney show, and just look at Axl just getting arrested, and just like in that purple usually, like he was a beast, man. I mean, me, the greatest band that ever walked the planet. I'm still obsessed with him and the weirdness around him and the rings and blowing up pictures of like weird chains. Like he's still a mystery.
Where this is off topic, but where were you at like with when the Appetites came out? Because obviously Appetite was the one. When the Illusions came out.
Oh, I was at Tower Records at midnight is exactly where I was when they came out. And I brought them back and I unfolded the lyrics. And, you know, it was weird because we had heard most of those songs before.
Yeah. Yep.
I was a little bummed when I saw the You Could Be Mine video and Arnold was in it. It was like, but then you start to know, oh, I know the chick on Melrose that he's talking, like, he really is just telling this Hollywood. It almost opened up to a story. Mm-hmm. And Axl just still to this day just seems so epic. How did he go from like a Judas Priest kid to like estranged and these big words? What the fuck does the word estranged mean? I had to look it up. You know, like what is this big epic where the Stephanie Seymour, I mean, I just like he's bigger now. Like I'm just his world just sucked me in. Those sucked me in.
It's shocking at how massive Guns N' Roses still is, even though really, I mean, I don't know about you. I never got into Chinese democracy, but the allure of Appetite alone keeps them massive.
Now I'm obsessed with. There's a book coming out on the making of Chinese democracy. I can't wait to get, but it bums me out. My friend said something smart. He goes, "It's just going to probably be repackaged things that this guy reads on the internet. Is it? Maybe it won't be. I hate when I get a rock book and it's just." Repackaged quotes from the internet. Yep. Whereas one of the best. So Fargo Rock City is my favorite book. The second one is Goodbye, Goodnight, Guns N' Roses by Art Tavanna. He gets into mythology of it all and like Axl's house and why and the kilts. And he gets so under the hood. This book should be the biggest rock book. He's so under the hood on GNR. Yeah. Okay. You should have him on. He's good. He's good.
Shit. All right. I will, because I want to have everybody on. I'm so enamored with that scene. I want to have everybody from every band on. And I'll ask you this now, because you guys developed this big name on the scene. What were the bands maybe that you saw that you thought should have got the stardom that eluded so many people?
You know, and in hindsight, with all of us self included, I kind of see the chinks in the armor of where, you know, I mean, where something might not have been, you know, I mean,
yep.
I remember Rattlesnake Shake seemed like just gods to me at the time, but in our local scene, like if you separate it, Swinging Thing and the Glamour Punks, I mean. The Fizzy Banger, those three that we end up playing with, like I could always take us out of the, like, why would you sign? And I don't want to say beat up Animal Bag, but who thought they would sell more records than the Glamour Punks or Swing? Who didn't want to just throw a Faster Pussycat cheaper record deal at one of those three bands. The glamour punks, like Marilyn Manson came, he was influenced by them. You hear Black Veil, like, how could you have not ran the numbers that those bands deserved records? I'm taking me out of the equation, especially Swing thing. It just came out. And it was just like, what's not here that the songs are incredible. They sing 3-part harmonies. They get the banner. They got the produce, like Tommy. Like, why wouldn't you just give these guys a shot? But then, you know, the things. Maybe it was, I don't. They start changing themselves. We all want to be cool, and you know what I mean. But the dumb thing for all of us is we just should have just kept selling records and sticking to our mission statement, and just realized that was a success, and built on, you know, the what we had.
You talked about touring. When did you guys tour Japan? Was that after I Like It Alot came out, or when did that Japan?
That was before. Okay. That was before. So 92.
How did that tour end up coming about?
Oh, this is horrible, because we played with Bad Blood at the Whiskey, who was Kenny's roommates, and Jeff, just an incredible singer, like at just A level. They were out of their minds. Like, I think there was more drugs there. Okay. And Jeff still is one of our great friends. And so we played the Whiskey with them. I remember Brent was there. Gene Simmons told me he wanted to talk to him about signing. I walked up to Gene Simmons because he goes, "Tell me why you're gonna make it." He goes, "What does your band sound like?" And Kim we're like Prince meets Metallica, dude. He goes, "Rock bands don't listen to Prince. They listen to the LA Guns. You'll never make it." And you use the word dude, and dude's a word of the past. So this whole thing, then, you know, this guy, Mr. Kobayashi, came and said, "Look, we would like to bring you to Japan. We were going to bring Bad Blood, a little too out of their minds. We came to see them, but we're going to bring you to Japan." Okay. We're like, "Awesome. We're so nice. Do you want a drink? And then we went back to the apartment that Kenny shared with the singer of Bad Blood, and they whipped out champagne and started celebrating going to Japan. And me and Kenny like,
right.
Like anything, like we didn't believe we're going to Japan until the wheels hit the ground in Japan.
Right. So how was the Japan tour?
It was incredible. It was so special, and they told us we could get professional roadies, and like we brought our friends, and it was just awesome. It was really special. It was really cool, and coming home was cool. You know, it did something for us, and to this day, there's friends that have wives from that tour. It built a beautiful relationship with that place and us, and then people would visit from Japan and come to our shows, and we're always pretty good to them. We're always pretty. You know, the thing about us to this day is we're pretty tight with our credits. It's like a sports team that it doesn't matter whether they win or lose. Just people go to celebrate, like the Raiders or something. You know, they go to celebrate, and it's the whole essence of the whole thing of who you're going to see at the show, of who's going to be there, of that we're going to have the glamour punks play the swing, and you know, this whole thing occurs. So it was that special feeling, along with the band being pretty good as well. You know, I mean, we didn't make Appetite, you know what I mean, but
a lot of people talk about I Like It Alot, man, as being one of those albums that just hit a little bit differently. I don't know, it hit me. Well, and I was just gonna say, off topic maybe, but talked about Japan. What I've learned in a lot of interviews is a lot of bands regret not doing what a band like Firehouse did. Firehouse started to really explore the overseas market. They stayed pretty big. Mike Tramp, Mark Gus Scott from Trickster both said, "I wish we hadn't have broken up. I wish we had given more of our time to overseas, where bands like this stayed big." Anyway,
well, we tried. Trust me, I wanted to go right back to Japan, and it wasn't happening. We would have went back in a second. We didn't have. They did have Major League. We didn't have the option to go back. We would have definitely went back. Yep. And yeah, and you know, the thing about I Like It Alot that I think is special, why everybody does, is because we all were. You know, you didn't go. Some people moved out, some people didn't, but we were a band that saw Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses on MTV. And after that, like, I think those bands went to LA when it was a mass. All these kids from America, for whatever reason, just descended on LA at that end. We all just moved. The metal years came out. We all descended to become rock stars. We can do this, and we descended on it. And we weren't. Some were, but we didn't all have the Axl story. Some of us actually liked our moms and dads, and it was. I think it was more the story of a lot of people that had moved out, missing friends and missing parents, and still being a little fucked up. But it was the story for that sect of people that moved out because of Faster Pussycat, because of Guns N' Roses. Like that was that last movement, and nobody really made it from that last movement. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, later Buck Cherry did, but none of us that were on the strip at that time. I mean, Tough had an MTV being someone, so they did it, but really, no one had a success with their. I don't know that anybody is still playing arenas or ever played arenas out of that time period, post Guns N' Roses, post Faster Pussycat. Is anybody playing arenas from that time?
Not that broke like after 1990.
Yeah. So I mean, the clubs were still packed. So it was. Yep. They always said, Kim said something great. The first 2 years of a decade are the highlight of the previous decade.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that was yeah. So it was cool. So that's why we put it's a very special time, and lives were based and lives were lost, made. And that's why we have to have our reunion, is to just kind of put it back together and make it not be for nothing.
And if I remember, I think it's the early 2000s that you guys. How do you guys say, you know what? Let's come back and let's give this another shot, or at least play some shows. How does a reunion happen?
You know, we all, a lot of us, I call it post-metal denial. We're in denial of, what was it? You know, you're trying to be, you just fucking lost. Yeah. But Eric Lothrop, we had our first big bunch of people that came to see us was this little Boston contingent of friends. And they were the 10 people that turned into 20 people that turned, and he was the DJ at the Rainbow, and he put it together. He put a billboard at the top of the Rainbow, and it was, I think MySpace started to happen maybe, and people started to link it. That's what it was too. People started, it all went away, but then the internet started to happen, and MySpace, we all started like, what do you do? You know what I mean? And like little things started to build, and then we did it. And remember the first one, Brent jumped up with us. We did it. Davey Vane played Secrets with us. He's become a pretty tight friend of mine up here, and over the years, and it was cool. It was, you go, oh, this is special. You know what I mean?
Right. So what was that first? Was that 2000, 2001? When was the first time you guys played a show? That's
a great question.
Okay.
I have a photographic memory, but not for the dates. I don't know why. So it turned, someone said last year the reunion could drink.
Okay. Okay. And I think, didn't you guys play the Viper Room this year?
Yeah, we play the Viper Room every year now. We kind of play it there because Tommy Black, our friend, manages it, and it's just not too many rules at the Viper Room in a lot of ways. Not a pile of rules. So what besides we got 30 people on the guest list. If this guy can't get in, that's.
Besides doing the occasional Blackboard Jungle, what else? I mean, is there? And I thought you had a project, and I apologize, but like I just
no. Right now, and you always want to, when you're talking about your band, the things we've learned is what I'm doing now. This is what crashing in cars, and it's just it's more stripped down. It's the same. I'm still kind of writing the same way as I was with Blackboard Jungle. Just if I go back to my first band in high school, 8th grade, I had a song "Hitting the Road" that I ripped off of Trickster. I would be like Trickster. Actually, was like if I played it for you, you'd be like, oh, this is. Trickster, by the way, I was just arguing with someone. I just think they put the wrong single out because that "You're Only Young Once" and "One in a Million," which is such crushing songs live when we were kids. Right. I thought we were trying to think, was that a blues thing that became the single or what? You know what I mean? But
what song became the single? Are you talking about off the Here album?
"Give It to Me Good," how that became the single.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, it was good, but it didn't feel like the spirit of them. But then I was researching this other day, and I realized they got the thing where the producer starts writing songs. And of course, he's going to want his song to be. I just say, just that we call it rock and roll forensics. I have a friend. We go over rock. We're still, if anybody knows, the biggest rock and roll forensic we have is we want to know what Vince Neil is singing to that girl in Home Sweet Home. If anybody could figure that out. We've narrowed it down to a piece of a set list because they played the same set list every year, and his makeup's at a certain point, so you kind of know when it is with the sweat. But like I do a lot of rock and roll forensics, you know, like that.
Sure.
So,
you mentioned Crashing in Cars. Have you guys put anything out?
yeah, it's all over Spotify, everything. Yeah, just look up Crashing in Cars, and it's just part of the. So I started at that part of the California, and then moved to California. And then it's funny, I have a song, Smells Like California, that got on my favorite show, Californication on Showtime. Okay. And the Blues from Laurel Canyon, when they're taking a walk, Marcy and her friend, before they see Becca's boyfriend making out, they play it. And that was cool. But I always have a California song about my relationship to this place.
Sure.
All time. You
sure.
know what I mean? So I see that it is a story that's being told. If you look at Crashing Cars, it's and then I had a song in a band called MK4. It was called Heavy Metal Thunder, and there's a video.
Hey, I'm editing this interview with Britt Pennella right now, and I did not know about this song called Heavy Metal Thunder by MK4. So I'm like, oh well, I better go listen to it, and it's amazing. And I wouldn't stop and insert this into the interview. If I didn't think it was amazing, I would just let it go. But it's awesome. You will find the link to Heavy Metal Thunder by MK4 in the description. Please go listen to it, okay? You won't regret it.
About you know, she lost her appetite for destruction's one of the lines, you know, okay. And it's about that story. So I think it's a constant story about the journey that. Okay. I always say now at music, I'm like a guy that goes to jail stealing a bicycle after 3 strikes. I just don't know any other way of life, you know?
Sure. Sometimes I can relate. Yeah. I thought I saw an interview with you recently, maybe a couple of years ago, where you said that you guys were writing new music, Blackboard Jungle.
We are. And we did a few songs the other day, and we have some, and we just got to link up with everybody and record it. But yeah.
That's,
you know, you don't want to be the new band with new music, you know, but I think one of the songs is about, I think it's called Hey Old Boy, just about looking yourself in the mirror, being a little older. You know what I mean? And there's more, one of the lines, there's more yesterdays than tomorrows, you know, just one of those things. So completing the story, just keeping a little story going. You know what I mean? I love the rock room. I don't know why I love my friends. I have a friend, Mike Hannon. He has the ultimate rock room. I love, as we get older, like it's just such a cool, just oh my God, it's incredible.
That's from Cream magazine, the Kiss 1974 ad, the first spotting of Kiss in like Cream magazine, the ad. Anyway, I'm such my whole house is like that. I mean, it's a rock and roll museum basically.
And Kiss is a big one, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to show you something. It'll take me 2 seconds to
go ahead.
Look what I have that has still made stayed with me all these years. The Kiss radio.
Oh no shit.
Radio.
Oh fuck.
Remember the commercial? You thought it was like 9 feet tall and it played Kiss.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, my whole house is full of. If I walked you around, you'd shit. I'm obviously going to be single for the rest of my life because anytime a girl comes over, she's like, "Don't call me, I'll call you anyway."
It's a, you know, I say this stuff and the Sunset Strip. Nothing ever felt like it. Like remember you're a kid and your mom brings you to stores. This is my analogy, and then you go to the drugstore and you see the candy aisle, and it's just like, oh. Then you get a little older and you go to Toys R Us and it's like, this is awesome. It's just like the Sunset Strip and all these things were just like the next step in that.
Yeah.
You know, BMX bikes, it's just so, could look at it. It's our art. That I'm not kidding. It like that's just our art. Like I look at that. Some people might have a Basquiat painting. I'm just like, you look at a painting and go, oh, wait, Axel's drinking Pepsi there. I was just looking at pictures. Why is Axel with Ozzy? Axel's got the Corona backwards. He's the only one that's allowed to drink still. You know what I mean? Like there was a picture of Guns eating in Japan a few months ago. And I just sat and studied it. Like, why has Axel got different food? And he looks pissed to be there. Oh, why is Rich? Oh, just these pictures. I could go for days, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and it's not about me, but that's why I started. I was like, fuck, that's all I think about. My house is like a fucking hair mat. Why not just start this channel, see what happens, whatever. Anyway, so
it's funny. In the Poison, I was arguing with a friend when I first got Look What the Cat Dragged In. I think that was a pinnacle where like it was like everything. It just you thought Crew was everything. Yeah. It was overload. Yeah. But I would get so mad. It was the first time I'm not super opinionated, but number one Bad Boy horrified me. And Mama let me go to the show, made me so mad because wait, this guy is the Look What the Cat Dragged In guy, 2 girls. He shouldn't have to ask his mom to go to a fucking concert. This guy, you shouldn't have to ask it. Wait, this makes no sense. You're like,
you just fucking go to the concert.
And you dig those bad boys and then you know, as time go by, that had to be a leftover Pennsylvania song from their band. It had to be a leftover song because that was just like would make me so because just the mythology, the whole thing is still so intriguing.
Yeah. When you look back at Blackboard Jungle, but are there any regrets or is there anything where you're like, fuck, we should have done this?
No, well, and this is maybe that we should have known we were making it and that it wasn't about you know, like that you didn't need a record company, that we were actually doing it when we were doing it. Right. Maybe enjoyed it more. But I always say, and I love my guys, but I don't want, what's the reality of us making it is I'm chained to Kenny the rest of my life or Dave and them choosing, well, I don't have a kid. I don't have kids like you. And that's right. And go on tour this week. And that's my living. You know what I mean? So it sits there.
Yeah.
And then I get pissed and we get the bad feeling. I'm just glad that's not my reality. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? The guy's playing in the fucking bathroom because it's hot out. Like, it's just, you know, like if that was my day to day, I'd be out of my mind. So when we rehearsed in that place with Jimmy Kimmel, it was 7 C's then, and a friend had an after hours. He ended up killing himself in there, which is horrible, Laz. But at the end of his suicide note, he wrote, "Britt, the band will make it." And for years, that horrified me that we didn't. Right. But I completely think we've made it and that we bring everybody together once a year. We do something no band has done, Animal Bag hasn't done. I'm sure Animal Bag. That's what I just use. I don't even know what they said. I just remember seeing the video on Headbangers Ball. It's not that it's good, but it's just like, you know, like, does anybody go, I want to be the guy in Animal Bag? You know what I mean? Right. But we did it. We did it. We bring people together and it's your effect on life. And when I see your room, when you have a friend like Stevie or like just Stevie pumping you, like, it's just cool, man. It's cool that this is some subculture. We're like, you know, I have a really smart friend. He said, you know, when we were in metal, there was still jazz still existed. It wasn't what it was when Miles, but it was still cool. You see the pictures, like we're just like jazz now, you know?
It for some reason, like to some people, to have made it needs you had to have gone platinum. You guys did so much more than a lot of bands did. And the way, like when I meet people or talk to people that talk about Blackboard Jungle, it's, you know, it's always like, oh, these guys were so great. They were the next thing. And that is in itself making it.
Well, and you know who said that we should have been the next thing is Vicky Hamilton. And she was on every list of every album. And it's funny. And I see her out. She doesn't even know who I am, but that was huge to me. One time she said that, and that was amazing that she felt that we should have been it. And it's just, it changes what you define it as. Oh. And I just think it's counting and whatever you count. And, you know, I'm friends with Kenny. I played with Eddie from Alley Cat Scratch. And of all the bands, the Glamour Punks, Swinging Thing, Fizzy Bangers, Alley Cat Scratch, when I talk to people overseas and stuff, they all know they symbolize the Sunset Strip. And I don't even know that they were as big as any of us, as big when it was happening, but people relate that. I want them to play with us when reunion school because they symbolize that time to so many people. They have more listeners than any of us have anything. And so their cultural impact is huge.
Oh, I love that Alley Cat Scratch album that came out in the early 90s. Holy shit.
Because I can't imagine, like, I know what it was like sitting in the snow in Jersey reading about, you know, Motley Crue. You're reading about this stuff sitting in the snow in the Dakotas. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It seemed otherworldly, and in a way it really was, you know, and you guys got to live what so many of us wanted to live. And so I salute you, and I'm glad that you came on to talk about this. How much longer do you think Blackboard Jungle is going to keep doing the reunion shows, and what's the future hold for you musically?
As long as people show up and as long as we don't kill each other, you know, I always think this one was the last one, then I call them up. Are you guys ready to go again? And they're ready to go again.
Do you guys ever get like any opportunities to do like Monsters of Rock or anything like that?
So what's strange is we never got any, it just never, nobody's ever approached us. Even like the Rainbow Parking Lot. I'd love to do it, but we just,
okay.
You know, I have a funny one. Last Blackboard Jungle, I ended up jamming with Pretty Boy Floyd. Somehow I played Piece of Your Action. They were doing the crew tribute. Yeah. And I went backstage, and Steve is in those things and does a lot of it. Yeah. He was like in full garb, and they're like, Tom hasn't stopped. God bless him. It's not stopped.
Totally.
And I walked in the backstage room, and I felt like the lawyer being like, "Hey guys, you know you're paying for all this stuff on your rider." Like, and he's like, "Are you sure you're the bass player of Blackboard Jungle?" I'm like, "I'm pretty sure." And he's like, "The original?" I'm like, "Yes, yeah. I'm pretty sure." And it was wild being on their stage and looking at it. It is different than Blackboard Jungle because there's little glam girls and just so infatuated. Like they have another generation of you know.
Right. Where can people follow you and keep up with what you have going on?
There's a Facebook page that if people want to, you know, and get the right one, you can see where we respond. There's one wrong one, but just hit me up at BRITT Britt from the boat. I work on a boat. I DJ on a boat. And I'll respond, and whenever anybody needs, or you know what I mean, they can text me at 415-806-7165. We're pretty hands. I put that number on Metal Sludge. Not they'll be, you know what I mean, just whenever anybody needs. If they I don't have this. If I have the tape, I'll mail it to them or email them. And it's you know, we got there's I should see this. There was a letter I got. I wish I could. Let me. Can I read it?
I saw this on your Facebook page, but go ahead.
Let me see if I. So, can I read it to you? It's pretty long. Yeah. This just says everything. Yeah. This is, "Hello, my name is blank. I am from South Omaha, Nebraska. I've been a fan since way beginning. I must say you guys are one of the most unique and enjoyable bands I've ever known. I'm serious. You guys have such a sound that just heals the soul. When I was a homeless teenage girl, afraid and couch surfing, warding off disgusting older men who wanted to take care of me, I used to drive around all night in my shitty car and listen to you. I get chills. Listen to your cassette tape on a boombox, digging up cash to buy like 27 size D batteries every few days. Your music helped me get through. When I was later on in life going through difficult times of my own after leaving an abusive husband, I took 18-month-old baby and gave almost everything away and left him after he choked me while I was holding my baby. I found somehow the courage to take my baby girl and get back away from him. Thankfully, I had a nice SUV with a CD player. I would listen to my music and drive around with my little kid. Many times I would hit the road and just drive. It was fun. I took my little one to see many small towns explore. Music was my happy place. My little one, my kid knew the words at Chicago at age 3 to 4. I'd go for a drive. I was going to break my child love the music. You're one of the bands that saved my heart and soul in life. When you listen, even sing along, all that pain just comes pouring out. I didn't have any support system, but basically your record, I'm giving you the point. And I just said, I said her boyhood, everything I had to, you know, it's like, if that's not what it's about, you know, I don't know that Animal Bag got that record.
I saw that on Facebook, and you sent this girl all this stuff, and that, I mean, you're right. That letter says it all. I didn't, like I said, I didn't discover Blackboard Jungle until probably after you had broken up, and
Yeah.
I just thought, this is a band that I wish everybody knew, and I will be doing some sort of breakdown about the I Like It a Lot album at some point, because I want people to know more about it. Britt Pennella, man, thank you so
I
much.
appreciate it. And getting into the story, you doing this to keep things alive, and like, that's how it exists. And people hear the story, and just someone that takes it seriously. And on a Chuck Klosterman level, it's not just silly and dumb. You're not dumbing it down. You're raising it up because it's very serious to all of us, and we base our lives on it. I love it, and please stay in touch.
Absolutely, Britt. Thank you so much. I'll let you know when this comes out. I will email you about the radio ID. It has just been an honor having you on.
And can we mention the American Songbook? Have you heard about this book? That's
I have. Please go tell me about it.
by Philip Harrington, American Song. It's just a book about all the bands of our era, and it's a really cool story about that we all kind of like, you know, just got in on it. Adam Gifford from Paradise got me in it. I appreciate him getting my story in, and things like this and that book mean a lot, and they keep it alive.
Is that, well, I saw Tom Mathers talking about that from Paris. Like, who's putting that book out, or do you know?
It's on Amazon.
Okay.
I don't like. I keep saying New Haven Publishing,
Sure.
you know, but that's American Song, Philip Harrington,
Okay.
and it's on Amazon. That's the
Okay.
best way.
I've seen people talking about it. I will put the link for that in the description. I'll put the link for Demon Doll and for your social medias. And if anything else comes up, let me know. But again, thank you so much for coming on, Britt.
That's a good book that really sells the story, because I say, like, the Wild in there, they've opened for Blackboard Jungle. Like, I know, like, Axl was jealous of the singer and took Dizzy out of their band, and I saw that all go down. So I always wonder what their story was, and a little bit behind the Guns N' Roses of sharing rehearsal rooms, and it's in there. So you get little snippets of each band. It's a beautiful book.
Sounds awesome. All
All
right.
right, thank you so much.
Thanks again, man. I appreciate
Stay
it.
in touch,
Take
and if
care.
you need anything, hit me up. Any Blackboard Jungle stuff you need, let me know.
Will do. All right. Take care, man.